An album a day is my exploration into the Korean music scene. This podcast will cover mainstream, indie, and some underground artists within the scene and provide both factual and opinionated commentary. The biggest benefit to sharing my thoughts this way is that it will hopefully expose you to more great music and exploration of your own.
You're tuned into an album a day. Show start.
Oh boy. Yup, have we not waited? Have we not waited forever for this? Oh my God. We have finally hit 2:00 p.m. Y'all, it has been a long time coming to get to this particular group. We have been talking about doing 2 p.m., no pun intended, for 3 months at this point. I'm so thrilled. I'm so excited. Welcome, welcome, welcome. A couple things that I want to make sure to inform you of early on now. Going forward, more than likely it'll be the recap of their entire discography. What I'm going to do for those of you who exclusively listen to this on the Anchor.fm app, I am going to give you a few snippets of the songs from each album that I feel are just standouts or personal favorites, because that's fun. It won't be the whole thing, and this is exclusive to Anchor because they are kind enough through their relationship with Spotify to, give me that good hot copyright protection, because we know about that on YouTube, how hard life can be for content creators in that regard. So you can anticipate that at the end of these gentlemen's discography. When I do my final thoughts, I'm going to give you a few snippets of some favorites. For those of you who happen to want to listen to things in terms of my personal favorite playlist, well, then you need to jump over to Patreon. On patreon.com/multifacetedacg, I do have just 2 tiers of patrons, so shout out to you all. The student body is 1, and that is as easy as $1 a month, which is wonderful because I say this all the time. You give Spotify, including myself, you give Spotify like $9.99 a month. You give Netflix $7.99, things of that sort. So being able to be a part of the exclusive group for just $12 a year isn't bad. And we also have the scholars, who are the ones who are a bit of a graduate from the Great Moments in Production and Delivery, pocket of entertainment. So if you want to check out those tiers and be able to get access to my exclusive Spotify playlist with some of my jazams on it, then you can check that out. Also, going forward, not this month, September, we're in the middle of it now. Late October, you will start to hear occasional advertising on this podcast, because again, this is the route that I'm taking from exclusively depending on YouTube. I want to be known as a K-pop historian, and one of the ways to do that is to be able to sustain myself with a solid podcast and give you all better audio. Yesterday's episode wasn't that hot, and I'm not talking about me having allergy congestion. I'm talking about the microphone. Those things are necessary for me to be able to have some coins together to be able to develop a proper mobile and stationary studio to give you all the quality that you anticipate. So now that I have given you my whole spiel, like I done locked you in to over 3 minutes of advertising and information, let's get into South Korean boy band 2 p.m. Okay, so I did not mean to squeal like that. They debuted in 2008, and initially they were a 7-member group. When they began, wow, my accent, that was funky. Their leader was J-Bum and Not Got 7 JB, not the same one. We talking about Park J-Bum. J Park was the leader of the group. After he departed, the group never did put a formal leader back into place. It remains as 6 of them, but the leadership role kind of disperses amongst all of them, with Jun-K and Nickun and Taekyeon. Really, Jun-K and Taekyeon really being the mama and daddy of the group. But we have Jun-K, Nickun, who is not South Korean whatsoever. He is from Thailand. We have Taekyeon, who I just adore. Woo Young, who I also painfully adore. Junho and Magne Chansung, who I usually don't even remember his name. No disrespect to him. It's just, I'll be paying attention to the rest of them. When they debuted, they set this amazing standard, this unexpected standard of being beast idols. Oh my God. So they were known around their time as having Jim Sung Dol. Jim Sung Dol is Korean for animal or beast. They were totally against the pretty boy aspect that a lot of the bands during the late 2000s, early aughts were. Well, do we call it the teens? Do we call the teens the aughts? I don't even know. We're just going to say late 2000s, early teens. A lot of that was rampant. You had, long hair, amazing facial structure and whatnot, and just androgyny to it all. They were like, okay, that's all fine, well and good. We're not necessarily against that, but we about to come in here thick as a Popeye's biscuit. No disrespect to NCT Johnny. We'll get to that letter and that member well down the line. But 2PM intentionally came out with a very super manly vibe to them. Not aggressor, but just there was no softness to them. None at all. They were exceptionally masculine. Masculine. Wow, y'all. Fresh off of work and I can't speak English at all. Plus, I'm just excited. We've waited so long. Okay. So, they were like super muscular. Like if you just open a tab in your spare time of Google Images and you just type 2PM K-pop group and just look at some of the photos, like I feel like some of them like ate small children for snacks in between workouts and dance practice and whatnot. Nobody was ready. Oh God. So getting into their history, they are on JYP Entertainment. They still are. They are currently on hiatus. Hiatus began as of July 2017 because they are of age now where conscription is necessary, the mandatory rule of serving the country as Korean men. So a lot of them are in military service right now. But their pre-debut, they've always been with JYP. They didn't do like 2AM where there was a aspect of them being a big hit entertainment. If that is new to you because you're just jumping into my podcast now, then go back a couple of episodes and listen in to 2AM's history and how they share it with 2PM. So the members of 2PM were all auditioned with the exception of Nick Kun because Nick Kun was scouted. They were like, yo, handsome young man, come hither. He was like, sure, why not? But the rest of them, they auditioned. Some of them had already had entertainment experience because they'd done singing competitions or things of that sort, with the exception, I won't say the exception. With the particular side of Taecyeon, he wanted to audition and he had an aspect of his audition that just really wasn't anticipated. And he felt like maybe he wasn't going to make the cut, and he ended up making the cut. Really cool. Some had previously lived in U.S., either being born there or having lived there for studies and whatnot. So when they come to English-speaking countries and whatnot, predominantly English-speaking countries, they don't need a translator. They just stand on stage and do it for themselves, and it's absolutely amazing. And I mean, just multilingualism is so appealing anyway, especially as an American, as limited as we can be. And that's me being politically correct. As limited as we can be sometimes about exploring opportunities to enhance our language capacities and capabilities. They're like, well, we got that already. Nikun lived in Southern California for a stretch. Jay Park is Seattle born and raised, and Tech spent a lot of years in the Massachusetts area before coming back to Korea. And he got Satori. You gonna hear me talk a lot about him. Look, I love him, okay? Let's get that established right now. And if you need any more justifying proof of it, for those of you who do appeal to YouTube, you can go to youtube.com/multifacetedacg, all one word. and look for that 2 p.m. death. And I'm articulating the pain that which I have experienced from the nosebleeds of a balcony in Dallas, Texas, paying attention to this wonderful man. I'm a huge fan. So yeah, where were we? Yeah, we were talking about their pre-debut history and blah, blah, blah. Let's get into this discography, eh? So they've released 11 studio albums as of the time of this podcast recording. Let me make sure to clarify that. They've released 11 studio albums, 3 compilation albums. They've done 1 EP. They have 39 freaking singles, and 11 of those were promotional singles or like one-off collabs. So they really milked their beast idleness as much as possible. And again, for those of you who are interested in that lovely Korean word, that's jimsongdol. Jimsongdol. The DOL part is like idol. So jimsongdol. There you go. See, you're learning things. Ew! The album that we're talking about today, the album that we're talking about today is their debut album, 1:59 p.m. I mean, you get it? You get it? Because they're 2 p.m. So this is like the beginning of them, like right before we drop. It's 1:59 p.m. Like, the 1 minute before our magic happens. I wonder what other albums in the future I'm going to fangirl this hard about. It's their first studio album. It was released both in digital and physical format November 10th, 2009. So we are coming up on the 10-year anniversary of this album. Had I planned accordingly and started this podcast later in the year, I would have had this align appropriately. But whatever. We're going to celebrate it now. And this would be the only 2 p.m. album that had Jay Park singing on it. But ultimately, he's not featured on like the imagery and whatnot for its promotion. This album churned out 4 doggone singles. 10 out of 10 was the one that was released August 29, 2008. So even before the album actually dropped, they already were rocking with things. And then they came out with Again and Again, which came out April 16, 2009. I cannot do anything about the air dynamics that you hear in the background during this recording, you guys. Like, this is just the tail end of my time in Korea, and it just wants to disrupt all my peace and sanity. There's a possibility you might even hear a dog bark from time to time in this crazy episode. Anywho, Again and Again was released April 16th, 2009. Then they released Tired of Waiting November 3rd, 2009. And then the one that I love with every fiber of my being, even though it's fun to sing 10 out of 10, Heartbeat was the last one. It was released November 10th, 2009, the actual day that the album became available, and they was just super swole, super beastie. It was amazing. It was distributed both on JYP and Loen Entertainment, Loen Entertainment. If that name is unfamiliar to you, go ahead and look it up. We're definitely going to jump over into some of their artists as we progress. And JYP was the producer on this. The album had a total of 13 tracks, clocked in just over 46 minutes. There was a Japan special edition of it as well, and a DVD format of that. But of course, because we are focusing on K-pop, we will not be talking about that. And it did well on the charts. Peak Position was number 1. You cannot top that. Like, you can't top it. South Korea Gone weekly album chart, they ranked number 1 at one point in time. And this is 2010 charting. Let me make sure to clarify that. South Korea Gone yearly album chart, they ranked 31st. And that's not too bad. It's not too bad. I'm going to say it's not too bad. It's not too bad. It's not too bad. So with all of that jibber being said, I suppose now it's time to give you the ranking. Yes? Let me clear my throat. Excuse me. K-pop fans, on a scale of 1 to 5, with 5 being essential listening and 1 not worth mentioning, the A3Day rating on this album is a 3.5. I know, gasp, grab at your chest. 3.5, Ashley, why? Like, you sound very excited about this. I am very excited about it, but the music critic in me cannot ignore the fact that this album sounds dated. It doesn't have genuine longevity in terms of production quality. None whatsoever. There are fun songs. They bring a lot of nostalgia, but they do not stand a chance against the songs that have been produced on their future albums. They just simply don't. Although enjoyable and anthemic in a lot of ways, especially 10 out of 10. Oh my gosh, I could say that in front of my middle school and elementary students right now, and they would desperately shout, they'd be all for it, But the quality at which this album was produced, it flows well. I'm not going to deny that at all, and that's what gives it that 0.5. It flows together very well. You come out of one track and into another, and it just makes sense. It makes sense. But it sounds like it was stuck in a window of time that's just not going to be very appealing to listen to 5 to 10 more years down the line. It's just not. Heartbeat comes on very good. But then you get to the chorus, and it's not that great. Their vocal strength wasn't anything compared to what it ended up being later on in their careers. I think that was a matter of just not necessarily knowing how they fit within the pop scene. Yes, they wanted to, I'm saying so much, you guys, but that's because I'm also over here like silently blowing my nose. They wanted to put more focus on how manly they are, how strong they are, and all of that. So some of the delivery of the vocalists within the group did a lot more of pushing on notes and range that they simply just didn't have. I'm not going to even hold you up. They just didn't have it. And even though there are some songs that you can still enjoy later in years, I mean, we're 10 years out. Back to You would be a good example just by the way it sounds in terms of production, but not necessarily writing. It just doesn't have that stretch on it. It just doesn't have the stretch, the range. I'm saying stretch, but I mean the range to really make it something that you would go out of your way to listen to. If it happens to come on shuffle, you're going to get excited. You're going to be like, oh yeah, I like this song. This used to be my jam. But you're not going to go out of your way to go look for it. You're just not. June K, when the group first started, his name was Kim Junsu or Kim Min Jun. Kim Min Jun. I can't say Jun. It's June. I'm looking at the Hangul right now. June. He's the main vocalist, but he's had to grow substantially in his delivery. I mean, hellaciously, y'all. Yelling compared to actually having diaphragm strength to deliver on stronger notes. He worked on it. He solidly worked on it. By the time we get to him as a solo act, because we're focusing on groups first, by the time we get to him as a solo act, when we talk about his solo debut, like, young man came with it. Yes, he did. He did. And I can't even call him a young man. We're really close in age. We're really close in age. I mean, I'm not old, but like we super close. We're 3 years apart in age, so I'm not gonna insult him and call him young man. That grown man came and told whoever he needed to tell what he needed to say. And shout out to him for being a Daegu boy. Like, Daegu's always going to be a special place in my heart from living in the city for 2 years. So I loved it. But he's a good example of how vocal strength improved over time. I know Nikun is a vocalist and a rapper, but I always think of him as the visual. Like, he brings quality to the table, but it's grown and grown over time. We don't really have to worry about Tech doing too much singing unless he absolutely have to. What he's classified as is a sub-vocalist. He's the second visual of the group. Nick Kuhn is the first. It hurts. Like, I didn't mean to make that noise. I really adore him. Jang Woo Young, he's a lead vocalist as well, and I don't feel that he had to make such a stretch as June K in terms of growing in his vocal strength. Neither with Junho. If anything, they just learned how to deliver with more confidence. They already had the vocal prowess. Maybe when we get to the next album, I'll have a little bit more of an assessment for Chansung. I hate that I do that Magne that way. I really do, but it was a time in my K-pop listening life where I just didn't listen much or pay much attention to the youngest member of a group. That's just me being how I am. You have a lot of things on this album that have JYP's touch on it, but it's not exclusive. You had other arrangements and compositions established by Jo Jung-soo. You had Kim Chang-dae or Chang-dae, that's the little nickname. Tommy Park, who I'm not very familiar with. The Paula the Dime, for you Westerners, Paula the Dime had a hand in the song that I said could last a little bit longer. Back to You, that's one that has a very American urban soul vibe to it, and that's what Paula the Don brought to the table. So yes, this is a 3.5. I do recommend you just listen to it just so you can make some cringe-worthy faces. I strongly recommend that you go on YouTube and you look for live performances of Heartbeat. I just need you to see it. So you can laugh at it and be like, Ashley, why does this matter in your life? I just, don't judge me. Don't judge me too hard. We'll come back tomorrow with the next album. This is the longest podcast that we've done concerning any of these albums thus far. But I had a lot of things I needed to say initially. I hope you enjoyed it. I'll catch you tomorrow. Bye, everyone.